This is Arya, and you're listening to Rabid Courage, a podcast with teeth where we bite into the heart of the matter. Apparently, failure isn't real. That's what the internet's told me this week. When you fail, it's not failure. It's just the old you falling. Trust that the new you will catch the you that's falling. Right. So let me know where that new version of me is, because my current nervous system isn't catching anything. When I fail, it gives me its best impression of a toddler throwing a tantrum in the middle of a grocery store aisle. I mean, seriously. But sure, everything's fine. There's an imaginary new me somewhere, apparently very coordinated, catching the me that's falling apart. Look, I get the sentiment. It's adorable, sugary, a sweet patch for the suck of failing. But it's BS, because it doesn't match what the body actually does when you actually fail. I don't know about you, but when I fail, like when I see all of a sudden I owe something on a deadline I missed, my stomach drops 4 stories to start with. My chest constricts, my throat closes, and my face burns. I'm not entirely sure of the order of that, but that's what happens. And then my mind becomes a catastrophizing poet. Every version of doom perfectly rhymed. So, all pop psychology aside, let's talk about failure like adults. The human version. The version your body already knows, maybe the version you're sitting in right now. Here's what I've learned about failure. It sucks. And yeah, it sucks. And it sucks because it exposes an incoherence about yourself, to you, and often to others. You thought you were one thing, but your choices, maybe your skill level, and your reality, and whatever you were just trying to do showed otherwise. A gap. It was a mismatch, a truth you weren't consenting to see right then and there. And that's when truth hits. It's like a slap to the face. You messed up. So your body reacts like it's being audited by the universe and put on the stand all at the same time. And shame burns. Heat creeps up your neck and flushes your face, and your ribs clamp, your mouth tastes different, and you replay the lowliest highlight of your epic fall. And you loop it over and over, trying to find a version where you did your best, where you didn't completely blow it. I think failure hurts not as much for the outcome, though the outcome can be really painful, but because of the exposure that confronts you with what you've been avoiding about yourself, or maybe romanticizing, or maybe overestimating. And when failure exposes that gap between who you thought you were and who you actually are shown to be, what can you do at that moment? And let's be honest about the biology, all Instagram fluff aside. The reality, dropping the ball is a nervous system event. When you fail at something that matters to you, your nervous system doesn't respond with enlightened wisdom. It responds with threat. The same way it responded to the saber-toothed tiger hunting our ancestors thousands of years ago. Our biology hasn't shifted much when it comes to threat response. The sympathetic and parasympathetic systems are the same. Your heart beats like it's trying to escape. Your jaw locks, your shoulders rise, your hands freeze, heavy, damp, clammy. Your attention funnels. You forget simple things like your own address or phone number. I've so much as forgotten my name when losing face completely in some moment, and hey, it happens. But yes, absolutely, failure isn't real. Yeah, tell that to your vagus nerve when it drops into dorsal freeze. Your body thinks failure is danger because historically missing the mark was danger, not embarrassment, death. Our bodies don't parse levels of threat at intake. When someone walks up behind you and goes, boo, your heart drops in the same way it would if a serial killer attacked or a wild animal. It doesn't distinguish small threat from big threat, imagined or real. Threat arrives as quote unquote imminent death. Thankfully, we have cognition. It recalibrates quickly. We realize it wasn't death. It was just my kid trying to scare me. It was just a moment. So no, you're not weak for responding to failure as a threat. You're wired. But here's the real question. If your biology interprets failure as danger, how do you stay sovereign inside a body that wants to flee? So let's not pretend failure lives only in the psyche. It's not conceptual. It's consequential. You miss a payment, suddenly your bank acts like you committed a crime. Failure has consequence and cost. Your kid makes a terrible decision, and besides having an entire situation you might have to help clean up, you also get to feel, oh, great, I failed as a parent. They'll need a psychologist, a mentor, probably a translator for their emotional language. Or your partner says, we need to talk, and every organ in your body files a resignation letter or wants to call the cops. Or you mess up at work and you sit at your desk wondering if this is the moment your entire life rebrands itself as a cautionary tale. These aren't lessons. They're costs. Emotional, financial, relational, energetic costs. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. The honest blow. Failure doesn't reflect your worth as a human being, but it often reflects your immaturity. And I don't say this in a derogatory sense, just the parts of you that haven't built muscle yet. A skill gap, a judgment gap, a developmental lag, a place where life demanded more than you'd rehearsed. You didn't fail because you're unworthy. You failed because you were underprepared, underregulated, undersupported, or even overwhelmed. Failure feels intensely personal, but 9 times out of 10, when you actually observe the conditions that caused it, you realize it's structural. So if failure carries real stakes and your nervous system is spiraling, what does sovereignty look like then? So sovereignty is the ability to stay governed by your own clarity. And failure creates a forced choice, like a crossroads. So even when your nervous system wants to run and your ego wants to lie and the world wants to tell you who you should be, sovereignty is not dominance. It's not perfection. It's not being unbothered. It's literally self-honesty under pressure. The refusal to outsource your reality to fear, fantasy, or even other people's projections. It's choosing coherence with what you can see and measure over letting yourself collapse into what you think and feel. Responsibility over rationalization. It becomes presence over performance. When you can feel the full burn, the embarrassment, the shame, the anger, the desire, the grief, and stay with yourself, not abandoning that moment, not trying to fix it, just staying. Like a surfer locked to their board inside a massive wave of chemistry, because that's what your body is going through, you are then sovereign in your skin. It's a quiet authority. Naming what's true about your body, your life, your patterns, your choices, even when that truth costs you comfort or image. Sovereignty isn't about the absence of failure. It's staying intact inside it. It's feral relentlessness, steady, unimpressed, rabid courage without theatrics, without denial, just meeting reality without flinching. Sovereignty is self-governance, and it's not theoretical. It's lived. It's embodied. It's not something you believe in. You either practice it or you don't. Failure demands a choice. You can excuse it or you can understand it. You can defend your narrative or you can develop the skill that you lacked. You can run, that's always a viable option, or you can face the part of you that didn't show up. I personally take issue with the sugarcoating failure content. This whole victimization narrative is really stealing an opportunity for evolution in people. But responsibility is expensive, and it costs ego and illusion and being willing to see yourself without the version of yourself you've been cosplaying to the world. It requires looking at yourself beyond the mask that you have carefully crafted of yourself and letting your own cherished self-image collapse in the face of reality. And here's the deeper layer. Failure forces a molting, in a sense. That version of you that can't handle the truth starts to crack. It resists, it narrates, it explains why it's not your fault. Yet underneath the cover you give yourself is a sharper self, more coherent, more capable, but still unfinished, tender, without language yet, and it only knows one thing. The you you've been up until now cannot survive the life you're building. So yes, failure at times can feel like dying because a version of you, in a sense, really is. So if failure shows you what must be shed, how do you meet what's trying to emerge? Failure is a kind of descent into the underworld. It always includes distortions that we experience in real time, or our breath stutters, or our pulse gets really loud in our head, or everything feels too close to the skin. I personally feel exposed and weak, and it feels like being lost, and I start to bargain and catastrophize and rewrite the future around one misstep. This is the mode in us, the outdated mode, that still thinks pain is punishment, or that mistakes are indictments. But you don't need to stay there, because no one is coming to rescue you. You're not lost. You're finding out. So if descent is inevitable, what is it that makes return possible? The return begins with something completely unsexy. Coherence. Not positivity, not inspiration, not reframes. Coherence. You tell the truth about what happened. That's it. You stop negotiating with the fantasy. Then you regulate just enough, one breath, one full anchoring into a sensation that you can name, one moment that says, I'm here. And then the smallest responsible action. Maybe you call, or you check that account, or you apologize to that person, or you ask the question you've been needing to ask, or you stop lying about something you've been omitting or concealing. You steady your hands. And each time you do, distortion shrinks, and dignity returns, and your sovereignty anchors. Rinse, wash, repeat. So if failure is the rupture, what becomes possible once coherence returns? And here is where the feral part enters. This is the activation of rabid courage. Failure strips anesthesia. Your mind wakes up because it has to. Rabid courage isn't bravado. It's refusing collapse after life hits you in the ribs. Feel what you need to feel. 2 minutes of self-pity is absolutely a-okay. Then return. Come back to you. Notice the pulse under the exhaustion, the clarity under the shame. Notice the steadiness under the panic, that part of you that never stops and is always there. Failure is the very condition that activates it, and sovereignty moves you through the storm. So this week's challenge is pick one failure your nervous system still replays. Name the incoherence, one sentence, no fluff. Then take one small responsible action, not to fix everything, just to move from collapse into sovereignty. It could even just be naming it. Thank you for listening. I'm Arya, and this is Rabid Courage. If this touched a nerve, share it, like or subscribe, and come back. We will talk about desire in an aging body and dispel myths there together. Until then, stay honest, stay human, stay feral.